Good evening everyone, my name is Chris Ogle and this is my second broadcast about community and how we can rebuild them. And the first broadcast I did was querying what actually is community and what communities we belong to and kind of what we get out of being in a community. This particular broadcast, I'm going to be talking about what's actually happened to our communities, and it's quite serious, but it's not that we woke up one day and decided that we weren't going to have communities anymore. Something actually happened kind of while we were sleeping, which has removed community. And thank you, you decided to eat them. Good one. Okay, so how do you know if you've lost community? Well, hi there, Jane, nice to see you here. So how do you know you've lost community? Well, you don't know who your neighbours are. That's the first point. If you don't know who your neighbours are, then you're not really involved in any community. And if you only do things to get money and you don't do anybody a favour or help people out, then that's another reason why communities disappeared. And if you're just focused on money, possessions, and you value yourself by what you have, then these types of things are indicative of community having disappeared. So what I'm going to talk about right now is, how did it actually happen? How did we lose community? Well, if you go back about 100 years or so, there were three fairly strong communities that we would all have belonged to. The first one would have been our family, and our families were larger in those days. They consisted of quite a lot of extended family, and we all lived quite close to each other. And those communities were quite tight knit, and if we needed support or help, then we could go straight there. And yep, you're right, economic system has destroyed pretty much everything. So the first thing was the family. The family was there, it was strong, it was close together, it was a great support network. The next one was our workplace. People worked in the same place for years and years and years, and they built up a community there. And though that community existed, yep, we do have micro communities, absolutely, and I'll come on to that probably a bit later on. And the workplace was a massive community. And then the third community was things like the pub. If you're in the UK, then the pub was a fantastic place where you could go and meet other local people and find out what was going on locally. There were places like community centres. We had those where people could go along and gather and actually meet other local people. They had kiddies groups, they had plays, they had all sorts of things. These types of places have kind of all but disappeared. And the last one was church and religion. And they do a great amount of good work in the community even now today. But actually, a very small percentage of the people in the UK actually do attend church now. So, how do you actually turn that around? And that's a really interesting question I've just been asked there. Can you use the internet to turn this around? Absolutely, you can. And I'm not going to talk about this tonight. Essentially, those workplaces, those three sets of community have essentially disappeared. The problem we've got now is, how do we rebuild that? How do we rebuild community from the grassroots up when you can't rebuild large families? Those things, yeah, good one. Yeah, you can't rebuild large families. You can't do anything about that. You can't change the workplace from where it's headed. It's headed towards micro businesses, small businesses, people who are working at home. Those large companies, those days are over. We're moving into a much more dynamic place, so you can't replace large companies. So the only thing you can put back is the third community space. Independent places where local people can go and talk to other local people and actually start to rebuild those communities. So that's the only thing we can actually affect. That's the only place that we can focus our energy. So I'm not going to talk about that now. I'm going to talk about that next time. So I'm going to do another post in the next couple of days, which will talk about how do we go about rebuilding that third community space, because that's vital. If we're going to rebuild our countries, if we're going to rebuild the globe, if we're going to change things, we've got to get people talking again, because absolutely everything starts with a conversation. So I'm Chris Ogle. Thank you for watching this short broadcast, and we're going to be talking about some interesting stuff next time. So watch out for my next broadcast. It will be up in the next couple of days. I'm looking forward to it because it's exciting times ahead. So thank you, and speak to you all again soon. Bye now.